Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Reclaiming Your Life. I am your host, Kamara.
This podcast is designed to help women overcome their insecurities, self-doubt, and fears within themselves to pursue their dreams by telling her own life experiences. Here's your host, Kamara.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode. Happy Friday to everyone. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there in the world. Yes, happy Mother's Day to y'all. Kudos, not even kudos. You know, we do so much as mothers. Like the whole world revolved around us. You know, sad to say it, but it's true. The whole world revolved around us. You know, it's so much that plays in being a mother, you know, not trying to discredit the dads out there, but it's just so much we do, you know, from getting up to making sure, you know, they are dressed, making sure they are fed, bringing them to the after school activities, going to parent, you know, PTO meetings. You know, I'm just naming some things off the top of my head right now, but it's just so much that goes into being a mom. And, you know, it's just a whole aspect of us going through birth, right? Going through that whole birth. It's just a whole nother thing to know that we are bringing another human into this world. You know, it just baffles me every time when I think about the science, you know, or, you know, behind it and how, you know, we were created. You know, we started as this little thing, looks like a little pea, right? Like a little green peas. Like we start off from that big to becoming a baby, you know, to becoming a toddler, to becoming a teenager, to becoming a young adult, and to be an adult. You know, it's just crazy how we are formed and how we are formed in the womb. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You know, I hope you guys enjoy your Mother's Day. This weekend actually takes place. The winner for my first ever Many to Come Mommy Makeover for Single Mothers. So this takes place on Saturday, and I will show you the full makeover on Sunday. I did post something on Wednesday with her in different outfits to see which one you feel she chose, but you will see on Sunday. So that's going to be interesting to, you know, because I already see what people selected. So I'm just like, some of you are right on point. So it's going to be fun this weekend. I have my whole Saturday with her. So this is going to be great. It's going to be great, and she's going to enjoy it. She's excited. She's looking forward to it. With that being said, I had the pleasure of doing an interview with a wonderful woman who is also a single mother, and she is the bomb. You know, she is the bomb. She was able to pick up herself and her child and moved all the way to Texas. And that's something that I always, you know, kind of holds me back, where I could just pick up myself and my kids and just move, you know. But this lady right here, she was able to pick up herself, move to Texas, from Mississippi to Texas, you know, for better opportunities for herself and for her daughter. And she has a podcast also. And her podcast, you know, she talks about different things as a single mother, what we can do, how we can, you know, network with people in our areas, how, you know, we need to talk about, you know, not even talk about, practice self-care when it comes to being a single mother, you know, and about the support system. This lady is very phenomenal, and I am so excited. I'm excited that I had the pleasure of talking to her, and I'm excited that she actually took the time out to talk to me about, you know, her views on being a single mom and just giving us tips on how to survive and make it out here as a single mother. So, without further ado, my special guest, her name is Kim. Her podcast is titled Experiencing Motherhood Single and Black. So when you guys get a chance, check her out, listen to her episodes. You may even binge on some of these episodes. But yes, check her out, listen to her, and I'm going to stop talking so that we can get right into this interview. And right before we do that, pause right now, leave a review, leave a comment regarding Reclaiming Your Life podcast and let me know what you think. What was your favorite episode? What did you take from one of your favorite episodes? So yes, do your girl a favor. Leave me a review. But without further ado, because I know you want to stop hearing me talk and get right into this interview. So let's get into this interview. Hi, Kim. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm well. Thanks for asking.
All right. I'm glad to have you on Reclaiming Your Life podcast. I'm very excited. I've been listening to you on your podcast, and I just love everything that you do and that you say. It's very inspiring to me.
Thank you so much. I am glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and about your business.
So, as you have stated before, my name is Kim, and I am the creator of Single Black Motherhood. I have sort of built a community of single moms that support each other. I have a podcast as well. It's called Experiencing Motherhood Single and Black, and it basically talks about single motherhood, everything that it entails. And then I also have a blog where I share tips from time to time. And so that's pretty much it. As far as, I guess, about me, I have a daughter. She's 6, and not recently, but in the past few years, we relocated from Mississippi to Texas, and we've been here ever since doing this thing called life together. So, yeah.
Wow, awesome. And I know being a single mother is tough because I am a single mother myself. So it is rough and it is hard. So why did you decide to start your podcast titled Experiencing Motherhood Single and Black? I love the title.
So whenever I originally moved, I was living with some family members and it didn't work out. At the time, they were really the only people that I knew here. I had, of course, met some coworkers at work, but none of them had kids or either they were older. So I was looking for a community and I didn't find what I was looking for. So I went to podcasts because I felt like, they were easiest to consume. And I want to say that I came across these Black women that were podcasting, but they had stopped years and years ago. And so I researched and, tried to send them emails. I could not get in contact with them. So I started listening to some white mom podcasts. And how can I say this? I feel like there were some things I could relate to, but then there were some things that were missing from the picture, I believe. I felt like they had a lot more support when it came down to family than what we had. And the majority of them were like divorced moms.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, Kim, people are always asking you, like, how do you do this thing alone? How are you getting things done? And they just always have so many questions. So I'm like, you should just do a podcast. And so I sat on the idea for probably a year. And then I got this guy to do my artwork. And I just went for it after that. One of my old colleagues, she had reached out to me and asked me if I could talk about my journey a little bit. And I know she was following me on social media. and seeing me do my devotions, and I was posting them every morning. And she was just really intrigued, and she really wanted to know how I was doing it. First of all, I guess as a millennial, and then as a single mom, because she was like, a lot of people our age say that they don't have time for a devotion, they don't have time to
It's
pray and do
mm-hmm.
these things. And she was like, but you're out here and you're doing it, and you have a child. So I think that was sort of that moment for me where I was like, wow, if she wants to know how I am making time to get these things done, then there are many more people that I could be potentially impacting. And
Right.
so that was in November of 2017. And so I launched in January of 2018. So I've only been podcasting a year.
Oh wow. Wow. I love it. I love it because, like for me, I'm always on the go. And when you said, you're finding time to do your devotions, and I find that I don't have my routine. So I said I'm going to do my devotions every morning, and some days I forget, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I really have to set my routine and say I'm going to do it this time every day. And I'm working on that now to say.
Yeah, well, for me, I was telling my friend, I was like, I just leave the devotional. I have a devotional book, and I just leave it right beside my bed so that in the morning, all I got to do is grab it, and I'm forced to do it. So not like I'm gonna get out of bed and start doing something else before I actually do it.
Okay, that makes sense. I think I need to do that myself. um,
Yeah, yeah. So that's what works for me.
okay. So now everybody's definition is different. So I want to know yours and I'll tell you mine. So what is your definition of a single mother?
So yeah, like you said, everybody has their own. For me, a single parent is a parent who's raising a child alone. Period.
Okay. And no help from the other parent, right?
Well, they're raising the child alone. Like when you talk about help, help can come in different forms, right?
Mm,
So
true.
you could be receiving financial help, you can be receiving physical help. It just varies. That's why I didn't want to get into all of that. So I'm saying that if the child lives with you and you're alone, then you're a single mother, period. Like, there's so many people that will say, well, because, she may have a co-parent, that she's not a single mom, or because she receives financial support, she may not be a single mom. But, who am I to call someone a single mom or tell them that they're not a single mom because of XYZ? Like, I do not have the time for that. If you say you're a single mom, honey, you are a single mom. I'm not trying to go and figure out if you're really a single mom and, all of those things. And I'll tell you something my auntie told me whenever I found out I was pregnant. She said, listen, you're not married to this child's father. He can walk out on you tomorrow. So always remember that you are single. You're not married. And so I've always kept that in mind from day one before my daughter was even born, before
Yeah.
I decided to walk away from the relationship. I've always just had that in my mind. So that is my thought on that.
And it's funny that you mentioned what your aunt said because I did hear that in one of your episodes, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not the only one who think like that." Because I tell people, like for me, I always make sure that I'm able to take care of my children on my own. And if their father is there, they're there. If not, they're not. At least I know that I can do everything on my own, and whatever they give or provide is just extra.
Extra. Exactly.
Yep. So I always tell people, make sure you can do it on your own. I mean, it's good that, they're there to help, but they can walk out at any time. They're men. They have that
Mhm.
option.
And now, even in marriages, they
Mm.
are failing so rapidly today. So it's just, we just have to be careful, and watch who we're dealing with and laying down with, most importantly.
Couldn't have said that any better. um, So, talking with single mothers, what do you think we as single mothers struggle with the most? And what do you think we can overcome? How can we overcome that obstacle?
So a while back, I did a poll on Instagram, and I asked the moms what were their biggest issues. And so I even created this graph to show the results from the poll. And the three biggest issues for single moms were money, or I guess you can say finances, however you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
support, and time management. Those were the three biggest issues. I know you said one. What do I think is the biggest issue? But those three were like the top issues that they believe that they had. And I guess you said obstacles. Like, what do I believe, or how do I believe that they can overcome those things? So, number one, it's like, I think the most important thing is developing a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's tough, but a lot of times for single moms, they don't really have the financial knowledge. And so self education is a major key. Like, even in the Black community, I think that a lot of us, or maybe in general, just people don't like to read. And so I think it's important that we take time to educate ourselves. And if you don't have a budget, or you don't know where to start, like, read or ask somebody for help, and get a
Yes.
budget in place. And if you don't feel like you're making enough money, then get resourceful. What are some skills that you have that you can use to help somebody out and make some money? Or what
Mm.
are some things that you can do from home where you can bring in some extra income? Or what are some expenses that you can cut back on? And so we have to, sort of get our priorities in order. That is like one, or I guess a few things that, moms can do to sort of help out with the money situation. And then time management, I think, is just a matter of going back to the budgeting thing. So, like, you have a budget for your money, you can have a
Right.
budget for your time, because that is like, you can get money back, you can make money all day, but you can
Can't
never,
get your
ever
time
get
back.
that time back,
Right.
And so I think it's important that we are accountable for how we're spending our time. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Are you scrolling on social media, or are you feeding your brain? And like we just talked about, with the devotions, are you spending time with God, if if you're a believer? Or, like, are you listening to some sort of motivational video or podcast? What are you doing at work? Are you operating in excellence when you get off work? Do you get your kids and spend time with them? Or are you still spending more time on social media, and then you just go to bed, or you watch TV and you're wasting it away when you could be potentially learning things that could help add more value to you in your life, and, make you more money and these things like that. So, again, just being more accountable, creating a schedule if you don't have one already, utilizing a planner, whether it's like a physical paper planner, or whether it's, Google Calendar, or, your iCal. You have Android. Android has a calendar. So just utilizing those tools. And then the other thing was support. So I know you're going to get into this a little bit later, but actually meeting people and not being afraid to,
Mm.
open up, and tell people that you need help and you're out here doing this thing alone. Not saying to talk to them and try to create a pity party for you, but just, sort of explaining your situation. And people, if they see that you are trying to do better and you're trying to go somewhere, they will most likely be willing to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that, I believe too are the biggest issues, and some ways that you can sort of work through those things.
Yes, I agree, because those are like the things that I struggle with, and I just recently started keeping track of my time and organizing my time and putting things in blocks like, okay, I'm working on this during this time, or, I'm spending time with my kids this time. And when they go to bed, I'll do X, Y, Z. So, that really has helped me as far as being organized, because before I was just all over the place, like, with a chicken with their head cut off. Like don't know what to do now. And I'm just like, oh my God. But once I got my time organized, I felt much better. I felt like I
Yeah.
got it. I got it together.
Yes.
All right. So I know that you've relocated with your daughter. Now, do you and your daughter's father co-parent? How does that work, being you relocated?
So when we relocated, my daughter was only 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly. But at the time, I was in Mississippi. He would come pick her up whenever I needed him to babysit, but that's pretty much it. Like he never was like, "Hey, I'm gonna come get her so I can spend some time with her." No, it was just mainly like, if I had to work my second job, he would come and keep her, or if I needed him to drop her off in the morning or something like that, he would do that. But other than that, we were not, I guess, really co-parenting at that point.
Mm.
And even like after I moved, I feel like it wouldn't have mattered because he wasn't really co-parenting while I was in Mississippi. And so to answer your question, we do not co-parent currently. I'm in Houston, Texas, or Katy, Texas, right outside of Houston, and he is actually in Memphis, Tennessee. So we do not co-parent.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Um, so for for single mothers, I should say, so for single mothers and the fathers that's absent, what advice can you give when a single mother says, there's certain things that I can't teach, their son, and vice versa, when it comes to their daughter, and that's something that their father should teach. How do you do that with your daughter?
So first of all, I'm gonna say that I hear a lot of times single moms saying that, oh well, I'm the mom and a dad. I realize that I can never ever be a dad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right? I can only be the best mom that I can be. And so I don't try to overcompensate for my daughter. I'm not, trying to teach her as if I was her dad. I'm just going to do the best I can as a mother, like I said. And my advice to those moms out there with, little boys and young black men is to get a mentor, for them. If it's a family member, if it's someone at church, big brothers, big sisters, like that whole club, I think Boys and Girls Club,
Mm-hmm.
somebody to actually step in and sort of be a role model for them. Because they too are able to teach them things that maybe a dad would have taught them. And sometimes, those mentors are able to step in and teach them things, and so I think they are invaluable when you don't have the child's father right there, and even, like I said, family members too, uncles, grandpas, those guys can play a huge part in the child's life.
Right, I agree. Because my son had a mentor when he was at school, and he really did connect with the mentor and did really good with that mentor. And there was one that he really connected with when he was in third grade, and I was really upset that I had to transfer him to another school because it was just something about that man. He used to be a police officer. It was just something about him that he connected with him, and it was just like after that, like things kind of changed, like, you know, with his behavior and things of that. So it is important to have a mentor, and I'm still trying to find one for my son at the moment, since he doesn't have his father in his life like he should. But yes, I feel like my son really does need a mentor. So I agree with
Yeah, so
that.
definitely check out some local organizations. And I don't know, do you live near family or?
So yes, I do live near a family, but there's really, I mean, I guess I can probably ask my uncle, to be a mentor and take him under his wing. I never really thought about that, but I probably can do that or should do it.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes family never knows unless you talk
Yeah,
to them about it. Like
right.
they can't read our minds, and so a lot of times, we think people are supposed to ask us if we need their help, but they don't really know what we're going through unless we sort of tell them. And it's not saying that you have to tell them all of your business and all the ins and outs, but at least tell them like, hey, I am looking for a mentor for my son, and I think you would be great. XYZ, and sort of, start that conversation around it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I am because he needs a mentor definitely because I do my best that I can as his mom, and I never say that I am his mother and his father because as you said I can't be his father. I could never take that place because I'm not a man. So I only can do what I can as his mom.
Yep, I totally understand. I get that.
All right. So, how did you build a support system when you relocated? Because that seemed like is. I know you said you lived with family, um, but besides family, how did you build that support going to a different state? Like, were you scared to relocate? This is somewhere new. Like, I know I would.
So no, actually, I've always been a person like a doer, I guess you can say. I've
Hmm.
always done stuff without thinking very much about it. So no, I was never scared. Like I said, I moved here, and besides the family that I moved with, I didn't really know anybody. But after, the situation did not work out with them, I lost their support, and I was just out here for a while without anybody, and that's when I resulted to podcasts. And I was like, I need community. I don't have anybody I can go to, nobody that will pick up my daughter. So if I'm running late, I just have to pay the late fee. If I need to take her to the doctor, she gets sick, I'm gonna have to miss work and try to figure it out the best way that I can. And so since creating the podcast, I've been able to sort of meet people here in the city. I've been able to, even just on social media in general, before the podcast, I met some girls that were from Mississippi as well. And they introduced me to a mom that was from Mississippi, and her husband, they relocated here and they have a little boy. And so we've become like good friends. And so
Oh, nice.
basically, in a nutshell, social media is so powerful.
It
So,
is.
like I said before the podcast, I had met those young ladies, and we started to hang out, and they introduced me to the mom that I've met, and yeah, and then like people at work, they have helped out. Like if I, was in an emergent situation where I needed to have someone to watch my daughter for an hour or two or pick her up, they've done that for me. I recently went to this single moms connect group at a church, and one of the leaders there, I was asking her if she knew of any sitters in the area, and she asked me when did I need a sitter, and I told her, and she did it for free, no problem. Went and picked up my daughter from school and kept her for a couple hours because I had a late meeting after work. So I mean, it's just putting yourself out there, letting people know what you're trying to do, and not being afraid. I think fear is probably one of the things that kills a lot of ideas, right? It's like you want to move, you want to jump, but
Mm.
you're afraid, and so you let that fear stop you from reaching your highest potential.
It's so true. It is so
Yeah.
true. And I mean, like, that's one thing I think we have a problem with is asking for help. We
Yeah, oh
had
yeah, yeah, definitely. Now, if I would have still been in Mississippi, girl, I would still be trying to do this thing on my own. I would have not asked for anybody's help. But, since I'm in this situation where I literally have, you know, I have the family, like I said, it didn't work out, but I don't have any family who's like, yes, I'll keep your child and yes, I'll help you out. So yeah, it's tough. And like you said earlier, it is hard, but it can be done. I feel like it's just a part of the journey. I don't feel that single motherhood is permanent. I do feel that it's temporary.
mm-hmm.
And, I'm just going through this part of this whole journey of motherhood.
Yes, yes. Now, how do you feel when people say single moms, or not even single moms, could be moms, need to make a sacrifice to either work or go to school while their child is young instead of placing them in extracurricular activities? Because I know when I was going to school, they were telling me like, just go to school, don't let him, do basketball, he's young. And I'm like, huh? Like what?
So I think you can do both.
mm-hmm.
So I don't think there has to be like a sacrifice for you to not allow your child to miss out on the extracurricular activity. You just have to figure it out. Either way, it's going to require sacrifice. But when I
Right.
say that, you shouldn't have to sacrifice you over the kid. I mean it in this way. Like, for example, my daughter is in swimming, and I'm going to be starting school, grad school in June. So I know that on Saturday she can't do swim because I have Saturday class, right? But we can
Mm-hmm.
still both do what we need to do. I just have to figure out how to work it in my schedule and if it's affordable, because it both things do require money. Now, for my school in this particular case, my employer is actually paying for it. So only
Mm.
thing else I have to pay for are books, right? So it doesn't require much of my own money, but for her,
That's the blessing.
yeah. So that is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to sacrifice, your dreams. Now, sometimes you may have to put them on the back burner, but that don't mean that it's permanent.
Right.
It's temporary, and it will still happen. It just may take a little bit longer. So again, just figure out how or if it can actually work for the both of you. Now, if you were talking about doing class, because you said when you were in school, people were talking about not letting your son do basketball. I mean, if you're going to school every night, then how are you going to take him to basketball? You couldn't possibly do that. But then if you have, just say classes Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and he has practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have to figure out, is that something that, do you want to sacrifice Tuesdays and Thursdays to bring him to basketball? You see what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter of figuring it out and if it works for you and your schedule at that moment.
Right. And it did, because I'm like, you know what? My son loves basketball, and I'm going to do what I got to do to make sure that he's able to still do that while I'm still able to do what I need to do. Because even if he has a basketball game, this is when I was in school. So even if he did have a basketball game when I had school, I would make the arrangements with either somebody in my family or one of his coaches, to pick him up and bring him to the game, and I can come get him after. So, like you said, it can work, and you just need to see if it fits with your schedule and, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, and developing that support system because, like you said, you would have somebody to pick them up or drop them off, and you would do, whatever they couldn't do. So, if you have a good support system, then that can help make it work as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, what's one advice you would give to a single mother?
So, the one thing I would say is I just feel like when people become single mothers, they automatically put themselves into this category of, I don't know, they feel like they can't operate at their highest potential. And I just really want everybody to understand that, again, this is temporary. This is just a part of the journey. And it won't be like this forever. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. But surround yourself with people who are open-minded, people who are positive. Get rid of those who are negative. You know, you don't owe anybody an explanation for your situation. And just,
like
you know, do
that.
the best that you can as a mother. Operate in excellence. And that simply means doing your best every day. I know it's easy to sort of experience the mom guilt. But, you know, as long as you know, like deep down inside, that you're doing the best that you can as a mother, I don't think anything else that anybody can say to you matters. So that
Absolutely.
is my advice. Just keep your head up and do what you have to do for you and your child. And most importantly, just realize that you have an identity outside of your child, because before they were born, you had some things that you wanted to do right. And so don't forget about those things. It's going to be a little bit more tough, but again, you can do it.
Yes, and I love what you said. You don't owe an explanation for your situation. I love that.
Yeah. I
It's
think so often, you know, people try to explain to their family members, to their
mm,
friends, and it's not necessary. You know, it's just you wasting a lot of energy. Because one thing that I've learned is, you know, people who are not in these situations, you can tell them all day, they're probably not going to ever get it. And they may nod and they may say, mm-hmm,
hmm
yes. And it's okay when you're trying to vent and stuff like that, but they don't really get it. They don't understand until they, you know, I know this thing is like cliche, but it's like people don't really understand until they've walked in those shoes.
It's
And that is
true.
true.
hmm
Yeah.
All right, so we're almost at the end. So this podcast is all about inspiration. I am so big on quotes. Anybody who knows me know I am a quote person. So, what is your favorite quote, and can you explain why?
So, my favorite quote is actually from Patrice Washington, and she has
Mm,
a podcast
I love her.
called Redefining Wealth. Yeah, and ever since I've heard this quote, it's made me like literally just realize that anybody can be watching you. And so the quote is, "There's always
Always
someone
someone
watching
watching
you
you that
that has
has
the
the
power
power
to
to
bless
bless
you."
you. Oh my God.
Yeah,
That stuck
that
with
is
me
like
too.
my favorite quote right now.
Ah,
So I've gotten so many opportunities over the past couple of years simply from people just watching me and speaking on my behalf. And so it's been crazy, but I was like, yo, that is so true. Like people I don't know, you know, have spoken about me. I remember going to this interview for the job that I have now. I didn't know anything about these ladies that were in the, you know, in the room,
mm-hmm.
but they knew me. They had been watching me from this organization that I'm a part of. And so somebody else from another location talked about like my work ethic. And I was just blown away. And that's just one example of, you know, there's always someone
Watch
watching
it.
you that has the power to bless you. Always. You know,
Ah,
so you just have to be doing your best at all times. Not,
right.
you know, when people are looking, but even when you think people are not watching and they don't care, they are watching.
They are. They are. I can't believe that. I love that quote. It just, that resonated in my spirit when I heard her say it. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, it's so true. You never know who is watching you and how they have the power to really bless you. And I realized that with starting my podcast because I noticed like I'm networking and everyone that I'm networking with, you know, they're so supportive. So supportive. And when I reached out to you, I was like, you know, this is so awesome that I'm able, you know, to connect with you and to have the pleasure of interviewing you because I love listening to your podcast. It gets me in order. I'm not gonna lie, because sometimes I have to I have to check myself, and
Yes.
I'm a single mother, but all the things that you talk about, it's just like, wow, like I really connect, and I'm like, you know what? I really can do this. Like, I can figure out how to organize my life and still do what I want to do, So
Yeah, absolutely.
love it. I love it. So how can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can follow me over on social media at Single Black Motherhood, Facebook, Instagram. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me, singleblackmotherhood@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.